try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of genitals, and forces of tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material unsatiated generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. One who can do so, one who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a very nice verse and purport. Sakno tihaiva ya sodum prak sarira vimokshanat kama krodod bhavam vegan sa yukta sa sukhi nara. Okay, so before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Well, not everyone can do that. But if you are in the association of genuine devotees, and especially a bona fide spiritual master or spiritual masters, they can help you to do this. So, before we approach death, if we're able to tolerate the urges of the material senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, mind, and intelligence, if we can tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Well, we should be able to check the force of desire and anger if we're regularly chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and associating with devotees, having nice prasadam, and being regulated, going to sleep early, waking up early, chanting our rounds, etc. Then it's possible to check the force of desire and anger. And then, situated like that, we'll be happy in this world. So there's a formula. This verse is a formula for being happy. Mm-hmm. That's why it says, Sa yukta sa sukhi nara. Sukhi means happy, and sukhi nara means the person will be happy. So, if one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses, in other words, mind, stomach, genitals, tongue, etc. One is able to control, one who can control the forces of all these different senses and the mind. It is called, such a person is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatiated, generate anger. And thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Well, that's a wonderful verse.
Maharaj, this is a nectar of instruction, first verse.
Oh, okay.
Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, kirpa vegam.
Yeah. Okay. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udarapasta vegam.
Etan vegan yoga.
Etan vegan, yeah, yoga vishaheta hiran. Sarvam arkan sasishyat.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Let's see what I'm looking for. 256. Yeah, in chapter 2, text 56 says, Duke su anadvigna mana, suke su vigatas priha, vita raga baya krodha, stita dir manu uchite. Translation: one who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
256.
This is chapter 2, text 56. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a muni differs from other munis, he cannot be called a muni in the strict sense of the term. Na chasa vrishir yasya matam na binam Mahabharata Vanaparva 313.117. But a Stita Dir Muni, as mentioned here by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Stita Dir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prasantani Shesha Mano Ratantara Strotra Ratna 43. That's uh, the verse from the Shrota Ratna, text 43. Or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. He is called a Muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries. Miseries of this body, miseries caused by other bodies, miseries caused by cataclysmic events. For he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification. And detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Well, this is explaining the symptom of a genuine devotee. What is the most telltale uh, uh, quality of a person who's a genuine devotee? Well, they are always steady in the service and with full determination to uh, satisfy or offer service to Krishna. That steadiness, that predictability of a devotee is that he'll always be engaged in devotional service. He'll always go to sleep early, wake up early, and engage in hearing and classes and giving classes and so forth. He's always engaged in Krishna consciousness. He has no other real purpose in life. Materialistic people have many purposes in life, but a genuine devotee has one purpose, that is to please Krishna and spiritual master by regularly hearing and chanting the transcendental knowledge of Krishna consciousness, associating with devotees, and always be interested in learning more and more about Krishna. So here there are several Sanskrit verses that are important, and it says, Nachasa Vishya Yasya Matam Nabinam. This is from the Mahabharata, Vanaparva, 313.117. But a Stita Dir Muni, meaning one who's very fixed in Krishna consciousness, as mentioned herein by Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. A Muni is someone who is uh, engaged in speculative types of knowledge. But a Stita Dir Muni is different. It says it's different from an ordinary Muni. Muni is someone who's engaged in the mental speculation all the time. The Stita Dir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. I like that, creative speculation. He is called Prasanta Nisesha Mano Ratan Rat Anant Rat Anant Antara. Yeah, Antara. Yeah. Mano Antara. Mana Atara. Antara. So Man Antara. Yeah. There's no O. It's Ras Antara. Or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations. Yeah, so these munis they are usually always engaged in speculations, mental speculations. But one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Samahatma Sudurlabham. Oh, dear Lord, you are everything. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries. Miseries of this body, miseries caused by other bodies, miseries caused by cataclysmic events. For he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Aversion means you're not serious about doing something, and so you don't like to do it because you're lazy. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because if he doesn't have attachment nor detachment, then what does he have? Dedication. He's dedicated always to serving the Lord. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated. There it is right there. In the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. That's a very significant statement. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Well, an example of that is Prabhupada. When he first came to the United States, he, at least for 6 months, was not going anywhere. He went to Butler, stayed with that lady, and then left, came to New York, and stayed in the ashram and that nonsense uh, sadhu.
Mayavadi.
Yeah, Mayavadi. And then just, started walking around New York City. And eventually, he was able to rent with the last amount of money that he had, rent a place where he could give lecture, and he could and have also a small room where he could stay. And he started preaching, and he started chanting Hare Krishna. He only had enough money for 1 month to rent, but in that 1 month, he was able to connect with people who helped him, therefore pay the second month, then the third month, and the fourth month. And then probably around the fifth month, 6 month, everything became sustainable for Prabhupada. But he had ups and downs, but he didn't give up. He was determined to serve his spiritual master and spread Krishna consciousness and knowledge of Krishna. So it says here, But a Stita Dir Muni, as mentioned here by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Stita Dir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prasanta Ni Shesha Manu Ratantara, Sotra Ratna 43, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, in other words, Lord Krishna, you are, or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, Samahatma Sudur Labaha. He is called a Muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. You see, everything depends on how we see things. So here, Prabhupada is explaining to us how we should see things. That is, that a genuine devotee, he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees, he's using the word sees, right? And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. So these are the ways to see properly. Prabhupada is teaching us. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Aversion means you don't like something. You're not you're not attracted to something. You don't like it. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. So that's very nice. Now we know what was the culture of Srila Prabhupada. He was determined to please his guru and spread the glories of Krishna as much as he could. This spreading the glories of Krishna is very important because who knew who Krishna was? Hardly anybody in the Western world. That Krishna was not in their radar at all. So Prabhupada made Krishna a known identity in the world, you know. And then, therefore, there were people in Russia who became devotees. There are people in Europe that became devotees. People in the United States became devotees. In Canada, in South America, and also in Africa and the Middle East and the Far East, all by Prabhupada's determination and steadiness to spread this movement. He did something extraordinary that never had been done before, to spread the movement all over the world. And he wrote so many books and had them printed and distributed so that many, many, many people could understand who Krishna is and how to engage in devotional service. So basically, Prabhupada was able to evolve a world, let's say, world uh, awareness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. A tremendous accomplishment in uh, his very advanced age, and in 11 years he did it. It's a miracle. And during that 11 years, he went around the world 14 times preaching. It's not easy to do that, right? 14 times.
Traveling all over the world.
Yeah.
Multiple stops.
Yeah. I can't even go once around the world, He went around 14 times. So
14 times.
Yeah. Huh?
11 years.
In 11 years.
Yeah.
The two most of it in the last maybe 7 to 8 years. That's even shorter.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so here, this verse that's quoted, Vasudeva Savamiti Samhatma Sudur Labaha. It means that Krishna or Vasudeva is everything for the devotee. Vasudeva Sarvam iti. Sarvam means everything. Samahatma Sudur Labaha. That means that Krishna is everything for the devotee. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. So he's no longer speculating. He's fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And this is a beautiful statement. This says the understanding of a transcendental person who's not troubled or disturbed by anything. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Yeah, he's steady. He is not attached when there's failure, nor angry when there's a failure. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he's not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Well, that's how you can recognize who is a genuine devotee. They never give up, and they're never discouraged. And they always remain humble and meek, depending completely on the mercy of the Lord, not on the mercy of some rich guy or some intelligent person or whatever. They're not dependent like that. They're only dependent on the Lord. Okay, this is a beautiful purport.
Which verse are you reading from?
Second chapter, text 56. Now we're in the fifth chapter, right? But I wanted to read this because it's very significant. That's chapter 2, text 56. Duke su anadvignan mana, suke su vigata spriha, vitaraga baya kroda sita dir munir uchate. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. That was Prabhupada. Okay, so we also read text, chapter 5, text 23. So, does anyone have a question? Does anyone have a question?
No attachment, no detachment, only determination and dedication
Yes.
to the service of the Lord.
That's because someone is educated. They can understand that we're in the material world. And because you're in the material world, there's going to be defeat also. You can't help it. But we should not be, discouraged by that. That's just part of life. But we should have full faith in Krishna. So whatever miseries we're going through, we should know that Krishna has minimized them, and that we have to remain very steady in following strictly the principles of Krishna consciousness. That's our only protection. If we're always following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, that protects us. And Krishna, seeing that, blesses us so that we can tolerate the difficult situations we may encounter. Yeah.
So even if things are going bad, we should see them that things could have been worse. But thanks to Krishna,
Yeah.
they're less severe.
Yes. Definitely.
But often many people think that by chanting and all, by following the four regulative principles, they will not get any difficulties.
I didn't understand what you said.
Some people think that by following
Speak louder.
Some people think that by following four regulative principles and chanting Maharaj,
Yeah.
that their sins will go away and they will no longer have miseries.
That's not true.
It's not.
Miseries are always there. We live in the material world, right? But we shouldn't be discouraged by it.
Okay.
And look at me, but I was like, let's say, very close to dying.
Yes. Yes.
But somehow or other, by Krishna's mercy and devotees' mercy, I pulled out of it. So we shouldn't be discouraged. We should always have a cheerful attitude, knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whatever is happening cannot happen without Krishna's wanting it to have it so happen. So therefore, we should accept all situations that we encounter without becoming discouraged and continue just following Krishna consciousness. Okay, so I think we're out of time now. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask?
Any questions online?
The 3 points you told about genuine devotees, Maharaj.
Yeah.
They never give up.
Yeah.
They are never discouraged. Humble and meek.
Yeah.
Always dependent on the Lord.
Yes. Yeah, a long time ago, before you were here, a long time ago, my house burned.
Mm.
Omar set it on fire.
Right.
Yeah, he was a kid, he was a small kid at that time. He played with matches in a closet in the house, and he set the whole house on fire. So I was doing a program in someone's house, right? And a phone call came for me, and I was giving a class, and they said that it was an important phone call. I had to take it, so I stopped the class. I get on the phone, and they told me, "Hey, your house burned down." I said, "Oh, well, okay." So I didn't say anything. I went back and finished the class, took questions. We had prasadam, and then I went back, and yeah, the house was very badly damaged. But I wasn't worried about it because it was actually a blessing. Because I had promised to give $100,000 to the temple, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. Now the house burned down, but it didn't burn down in such a way that everything was destroyed. So the assessor, the guy who comes and sees, how much damage has been done and how much, and because I had insurance on the house, then he decides, how much the insurance company is going to pay me. Right? He happened to be a really nice guy, so he comes, and I walk with him, you know, through the all the rubble of the house, and he looks at this thing and says, "What's this?" And I said, "Well, it's that was a baseball bat." Ah, okay. Well, uh, we'll say it's worth $1,000. Let's go to the next place. he kept he kept upping the amount on everything. He's a really nice guy. He wasn't trying to save money, right? And so because the house burned down, because it was insured, because this guy was really nice, I was able to pay $100,000 to the temple. Whereas before the house burned down, I didn't really know how I was going to get that money. But Krishna did it in a very nice way. He had the house burned down, but it burned. But I've said this before. Uh, if uh, the the house burned, but if the uh, garage burned, then I would have been really,
Problem.
hurt. Yeah, because all my business, things were in the garage. So fortunately, the garage did not burn at all. So everything was fine. I was not worried that it got burned. And because if the garage burned, I would have been worried. And it could have been a really bad thing because I had all my essential oils in the garage. And if they caught fire, then it could have spread throughout the whole, neighborhood. So Krishna was protecting me all the time. So I didn't have a place to stay. So I, I was working out of my, uh, house. So I didn't have a house now. So I rented a uh, a a place to put everything there, including me sleeping in the what do you call it? Uh, well, anyway, in the factory that I bought. I didn't buy it. I rented. I rented a factory, and now I was no longer working out of the house. I had a real factory, and I was sleeping in the factory, and everything went just right. I didn't have any problems, and then the business started to do much better because I was working in the factory now instead of in my house. So everything was a blessing actually when the house burned down. And now I had the money also to pay the temple $100,000 and so forth. So sometimes tragedy is a blessing. The blessing was even Omar set the place on fire, but nothing happened to him. You know, he could have died easily, but he had the good sense to run as fast as he could to get away from. He was playing with matches in a closet, and he set the clothing on fire, and that spread all over the place. Okay, so are there any questions? Any questions? So this is a very good verse. It says, before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So this is a formula for being happy. You have to be able to tolerate the urges of the material senses. Yeah, there's urging and merging, you know. We always have so many desires, you know. That's what publicity does, you know. It uh, ignites your desires. You might have a car, but it's a little bit older, but it still runs very well. But then you see it, you know, in a advertisement for a new car. So, I mean, you can continue to have your car, but no, your false ego more or less forces you to buy that new car and get rid of the old car. Okay. So if we're able to tolerate the urges of the material senses, what are the material senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and the mind, especially the mind. And check the force of desire and anger. That's also very important. We have so many desires, and when we are frustrated, we get angry. But if you know how to control those things, then one is situated and is happy in this world. Hare Krishna. Okay. So it says, therefore, this is our takeaway. One must practice to control the senses before one gives up his material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. That is our takeaway for tonight. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Are there any questions or comments?
Guru Maharaj, is this a prescription to the yogis?
What's a prescription to everybody?
Because for devotional path, we are okay to engage our senses to please the sense of Krishna.
Yeah.
Like, dancing, singing, hearing nice glorification of Krishna, and then tasting delicious prasadam, making delicious prasadam for to please Krishna. In return, our senses also get pleased. So that's where my doubt came. The 22, 23, they sound like more for the yogis than for the bhakti yogis.
What?
Then our devotional path.
Yeah.
So is that incorrect understanding, Guru Maharaj?
Well, the correct understanding is that before we give up this present body, if we're able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, we'll be happy in this world.
But for the devotees, we don't need to be worried about our senses because our senses are always engaged in the service of Krishna.
Yeah, why would we be worried about them? The only worry would be you lose control of your senses
Mm.
and you start doing all kinds of crazy things.
Mm.
But
So 22, 23 to me sounds like completely shut off the senses from the external.
verses
outward side.
5:22 and 5:23, those two verses, right?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Yeah. So
They're all about controlling the senses.
yeah, completely shut off from the outward.
Well, you're living in the world, but your culture is culture of Krishna consciousness,
Yes.
not the mundane culture of the atheists and the sense gratifiers.
Yeah.
They're in the material world also, right? But they're living in a hellish way because they can't control their senses, their mind. They don't even know that you shouldn't eat meat and so many things. Right?
This looks like the yogis who go to Himalayas.
Yeah.
And they stay in the caves, dark, and meditate so that the senses are controlled going outward. Because that's what Krishna is saying. Completely, as long as we control our senses to interact
And
with
why
sense
don't you look at
objects.
how many yogis stay in the Himalayas, even in the wintertime? You know how cold it is. It's like, it's like Alaska. It's like freezing. Right? How many of them stay actually in the Himalayas in the winter?
While there is no exact count,
Yeah.
a small but significant number of yogis remain in the Himalayas throughout the winter, residing in caves and ashrams.
Okay, it's a small number.
Small number.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, why did I ask that? Because it's a very severe cold. I mean, it's really severe. You can die if you not have some kind of shelter. So now we don't have to subject ourselves to such severe places, of bad weather. We can live a balanced life and not be in zones of severe weather or war or places like that. So we're lucky. So that means we have more time and energy to be Krishna conscious. Just imagine if you're living somewhere it's, frozen for like, 9 months of the year. Yeah.
Here is a yogi in Himalayas.
Meditating in the snow. Wow. Yogi meditating in snow. Yes.
So it looks like they use techniques like Tummo, a method to generate body heat to survive in extreme cold.
The yogis. Okay, well, look at this picture of the yogi. Let's show them the picture of the
Yeah,
yogis.
here is another yogi Maharaj who's sitting in this posture
Yeah. In the snow.
in the snow, pretty much with no clothing.
Yeah, the other one's better though, because
Yeah.
you can see his snow. Now it's not that, they went out, took a picture, and then everybody ran back into the house or something.
It's not the movie scene.
Yeah, it's not a movie thing. He's actually, he's actually sitting like that all winter long.
Yeah.
I have seen one video of a yogi which actually fit himself into a small box this much only.
Right?
So yeah, I don't know.
You don't know how he did it.
Slowly, I don't know. No, he did this much box only. He fit himself into that box.
Uh-huh.
He can do amazing things. So yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, that doesn't help. For long
What?
term. I mean, it's not going to help anyways for long term. So just showing this kind of mystic.
Well, Prabhupada never wanted us to do that. He wanted us to be healthy and happy and knowledgeable in Krishna consciousness so we could preach and help other people become devotees. He himself did not do anything like that.
People ask him, right? Can you show me something? I heard one of the lectures. Somebody was asking like.
Now, one person came to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, you're a real sadhu. And Prabhupada said, yes. He said, all the real sadhus, they read the palm. Can you read my palm? He says, no, I don't do this. No, Prabhupada, look, you're a genuine sadhu, please read my palm. Prabhupada said, I don't do this. He said, no, please, you do it. He said, okay. So he takes the guy's hand and he goes like this. And he says, and then the man says, well, what does it say, Prabhupada? He said, all bad. He said, what? It's all bad. Yes. All I see is birth, old age, disease, and death. Well, that's the fact, right?
Not convinced.
That's life, He just he read his palm, that's life. That really happened. Yeah.
Now that we have experienced it, it's hard to imagine how the other paths, they're not one, they have to withdraw from the whole society. So it's not aligned to building a society. So it's a path of very few. And they also cannot be successful.
Why? Because it's for their own personal liberation.
Yeah.
Selfish.
Whereas Krishna consciousness, we want to liberate everybody.
Greatest, that's why it's called the greatest benediction for the whole humanity, because now it's an inclusive path. It's something that you do together with other people, like like in a temple.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
One segment Prabhuji they mention is actually they do the tapasya, they say for the benefit of the society.
Well, okay. I mean, the nuns do that also, and the monks do that also. They're praying all the time for the welfare of society. Okay.
But how will that has to translate into some benefit also, right? I think the only benefit is that the devotee is going and then transforming these lives is the real benefit. Because what is really ultimately good for all the humanity? Even if they are meditating,
Yeah.
because of their meditation, more devotees are
magic.
probably more
Through
devotees are
magic,
there.
everything will be.
Huh?
Through magic, you don't need to like personally do it. Just do some magic and then
No, I think
everything. Life will
Prabhupada translates even in the 12th chapter, right? Where even for the people who are impersonalists, the only way they can be eventually liberated and go back to Krishna is when a devotee comes
and meets them.
and transforms their life.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
So
very true.
that means the ultimate path is only through a devotee.
Yeah.
Some lectures I heard, for these yogis, they don't have to mix with the society. They can send energies.
They can what?
Send energies.
Energies.
So
What do you
that
mean, energies?
Telepathy.
telepathic or whatever. Well, basically just transmit energies so that the stock market can go up and
Including.
Well,
They're all magic, mystic powers, right? So they're all magics.
have you ever seen a real yogi like that in the Himalayas?
It's like this, Guru Maharaj. Even sometimes we say, like, I wish I could meet this person. We make a wish in our heart, and then person automatically appears in the temple.
Any person what?
Sometimes you wish you could meet some person today.
Yeah.
And in few seconds, the person appears in front of you by some arrangement. So that is the closest example I can think of.
Well, what's the purpose?
Ordering the universe, Maharaj.
You know what? There's no such thing as ordering the universe. It's bogus.
Yeah, they're actually they're convinced. They're convinced that by doing that, they're doing the benediction to society.
Well, let's look at the Krishna consciousness. When you come in contact with Prabhupada through the association of devotees, through his books, and through devotional service, now you have come in contact with a genuine Vaishnava. It's not simply a yogi. He's a genuine Vaishnava. Now, Vaishnava is way above a yogi, right? Because he's a pure devotee of Krishna.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go to the Himalayas. We don't have to even, imagine anything about Prabhupada. We have so much information about Prabhupada, so many lectures, right? And you know how much it would cost if there was a tape of Jesus Christ preaching? You know how much they would pay? People would pay
Invaluable.
millions of dollars. Yeah, right.
Option.
But we have way over 3,000 lectures of Srila Prabhupada. We shouldn't, take it for granted. It's very, very unique that we have the voice of Srila Prabhupada. So that's him, even though his body is not here anymore, but that's his voice is there and he's preaching.
Videos are also there, right?
Huh?
These videos are also available.
Yeah, his videos also.
Yeah.
You see? So you can't say, oh, well, you were very fortunate because you were initiated by Prabhupada, you saw Prabhupada. I didn't see Prabhupada. No, you can see him more now than when he was present, because when he was present, he was going around the world all the time, right? And he would come maybe once or twice to some temple. That was it.
Yeah.
And there were not so many, like tapes.
Yeah, at the time.
Yeah, of his lectures and things like that. That came later on.
Accessible.
Yeah.
Even if they had recorded the tapes,
Yeah.
not everybody could get the tapes because there was no internet.
Yeah.
Replication.
So he's much more accessible now. So no, there's no excuse now. Some people say, "Well, you were with Prabhupada, but I never saw him." No, you can be more with Prabhupada now than when he was actually present, because at that time he was traveling all the time, and he didn't go to every temple, you know. But now, every day, all day long, you can be hearing his lectures, you can be watching his videos. Uh, there's more access to Prabhupada now than there was when he was actually present.
Right.
Yeah.
And by listening, Maharaj, I think you can figure it out what kind of personality Prabhupada was. If you listen more and more, so that you automatically try to get that kind of sense that what kind of personality Prabhupada was actually.
Well, he was the
Even,
most merciful person, giving us real knowledge. Just imagine, people spend thousands of dollars sending their kids to college, and all they learn is nonsense. It's useless. It's not going to help them at the moment of death. But Prabhupada, he was a real scholar. He was a real teacher. Whatever he was teaching us was so valuable that if you can remember a little bit of it, you can go back to Godhead, right? Yeah. But everything they're teaching in universities today, it's not going to help anyone to go back to God. So you can understand that Prabhupada was the real teacher, and he was giving the real subject, how to love Krishna. Mm-hmm. So that's real knowledge. The kids that are going to college today, they don't learn anything. They learn how to be sudras. As soon as you get your degree, then you have to go around and beg to get a job. And and then you get a job, then they lay you off. Now you have to go back and beg again to get a job. You see, so that's not real education. Real education is when you become independent of the material. Let's say, let's call it the rat race. People are going to early morning, then they work till late, then they come back, and then they get laid off, and they're in anxiety, and so many things, right? Just like now, you hear about all the layoffs. It's very, very terrible thing. You have a house with a mortgage, you have a car that you have to, you haven't paid it off yet. Your kids are going to school or college, you have to pay for them also. And now you get laid off. What are you going to do? Right?
There's a vacation planned.
Huh?
Vacation planned.
They
also plan vacation ahead so much.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they're not going to have a vacation. They're going to spend the money to just maintain their life. So, yeah, it's just imagine, if you have all these things. One time I was speaking to a friend of mine. He was not a devotee, and there was an economic downturn, right, in the United States. So I said to him, I said, how's everything going? Did you get hurt by the downturn? He said, no. I said, really? He said, no. I said, how come? He said, well, he said, I only buy things with cash. I never buy things, credit, And so I didn't get hurt at all because everything I have, I've already paid it off. So he's a very smart guy. And he said, if I can't afford to buy something, I don't buy it. So I have to be able to pay it, in cash. Then I'll buy something. If I don't have the cash, then I won't buy it. So, now he's not a devotee, but he was smart. Because you just imagine you buy so many things on credit. And then you get fired and there's the economic downturn and everything. You're devastated, It's like terrible. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Don't buy anything on credit.